Another bit of recruiting news. I just got a message from Tom Loy, who's kind of working the phones as he gets off the set here. Chris Henry has yet to submit his paperwork to Ohio State. And so we might have a little bit more drama, a bit more signing day theatrics. Could this continue to be a conversation where Oregon, maybe other schools, continue to call and continue to press him and say, hey, like, don't make this decision now, wait things out. Look, Hartline's just left. Like, this is one of those moments until the fax machine starts getting fired up or the electronic signature gets in. These are some of those big moments.
Oh, Blair, you are way closer to that recruitment than any of us. Let me paint this picture for you. Do you think Chris Henry knew before he announced for Ohio State that Brian Hartline was going to USF? Do you think he knew that? I mean, it was 7 in the morning.
My intuition says yes, and this is because this is a player who was committed to Ohio State since July of 2023. Repeatedly has told us that Brian Hartline is the reason why he's committing to Ohio State. I think at some point you have to figure that Brian Hartline told not only Chris Henry, but maybe even Caden Dixon-Wyatt and other prospects in that group that, hey, this is a possibility, right? I think he's genuine enough from a recruiting standpoint. You don't get to that level of a recruiter without building and having the ability to sustain some of those relationships. So my intuition tells me, yes, he knew and he made that decision at the time. Remember, this is a kid who had to sit at the table at the signing ceremony at Mater Dei and maybe didn't have all the equation in front of him to make that call.
Yeah, I guess that was my follow-up. I mean, you sign, kind of regroup afterwards. Yeah, I have been around Chris Henry at games, right, 7-on-7 tournaments. It doesn't seem to be one about like the whole drama. So I could see them saying, hey, you know, we're going to sign an imaginary piece of paper right now. We don't have to submit anything. Like, do you think that could have played out?
Absolutely, and he's very methodical. You mentioned it, right? Very even-keeled, kind of goes about his business. I think he's handled his recruitment the same way. You know, his agent has, I know, been working kind of the phones and making sure he gets kind of the best deal available to this player. And, yeah, this is absolutely feels like, hey, what's the direction? Who's going to be my receivers coach? What's that room going to look like? Is there any attrition? You know, what's our offensive going to look like? Like, you can't really make a decision, especially if we're in a signing period on signing day, if you're not ready.
I mean, look, ultimately, we have to think Ohio State had the information advantage. Like, there's no reason for Hartline to pull the okey doke on Ryan Day. So as soon as he knew, like, USF was in play, he would probably tell Ryan Day so they can play damage control on this. Who didn't have the information advantage would have been Oregon, right? Unless Oregon got wind of it. So maybe like Ohio State briefed him on it already, but now Oregon gets to give their counter. Hey, man, the reason you said all the time that you were going to Ohio State is now not Ohio State.
At least that's in the theoretic sense, right?
Right, yeah.
We
don't know, but
the
like,
hypothetical situation, that's how it plays out ideally in a recruiting battle, right? Because you are jostling against the juggernaut that is Ohio State, and you need any sort of advantage, and maybe at the final hour, the Ducks got this last wind, right, in their sail to potentially push things across the line, and that's the big thing right now.
And we have Chris Henry on the phone with Tom Loy right now, who's actually going to bust in this door WWE style. Tom, is Tom coming in right now? Shoot, let's see. He'll be in a minute. Okay. So, like, if you're Oregon, how much of this is, hey, our package is better now, and how much of it is just like, let's continue to have a discussion about what the offense looks like? You saw how much we used DeCorian here as a freshman. Here's what the playing time looks like. And Tom is joining us right now, tapping in on set. Tom, you just got off the phone with five-star Chris Henry, who has not sent his paperwork to Ohio State as of this minute, right?
Yeah, I was a little surprised he answered, but I appreciate it. He is weighing options, according to him, at both Oregon and USC. I know we were talking about
USC.
Oregon. Yes, we heard about USC from day one. Obviously, they were a big player here, but Oregon was the one we were watching for. But he answered, he picked up. He had 1 million people around him, which was cool. He made it clear that once he makes his final decision, he will text one of us and let us know. But right now, and look, I mean, some people want to call it a bidding war. It is what it is. But I think he's truly trying to find the best fit for him. This Brian Hartline thing really shook things up. May have just made the comfortable announcement, hey, I'm going to Ohio State. calm the masses a little bit. But we are watching Oregon and USC right now. It's very
So
interesting.
is Ohio State out?
No. He's still committed to them, but he hasn't signed the paperwork and he hasn't sent it in. So I think he's just taking a step back. Maybe talk to Ryan Day, maybe talk to GM Mark Pantoni, all of those guys that do a great job in Columbus. See what the future looks like, go from there, and just get everything buttoned up, get the paperwork done. But again, USC, they love a late splash. And Ivans mentioned it earlier when he was on here. He said that we haven't seen the cigar yet from Dan Lanning, so you got to watch out for Oregon.
Did he let you know when he knew about the Heartline news?
No, I didn't ask him because he had a million. Like at one point, we even sat on the set quietly for 30 seconds because he was giving hugs and kisses and all that kind of stuff. But again, I think this decision makes it very obvious. This isn't a money thing. All of that stuff was buttoned up. So this is clearly a Heartline thing. He wants to make sure he makes the right decision. You guys were mentioning it earlier. What's the rush? If he doesn't need to make a decision, he's not enrolling tomorrow. So why not take a little time? So he made it clear he might sign today, but it's looking a little bit more likely that it's tomorrow.
That makes all the sense in the world. USC, if they did get him, this kind of gives them a class that is reminiscent of classes we saw 4 or 5 years ago when you really could stack talent. We talk about the talent being spread out, but the Trojans are clearly doing something different here if they land Chris Henry.
Yeah, it would give them 2 5-stars in this class, close to 24 blue chippers. I know you love the blue chip ratio.
24 stars and 2 5-stars.
And that's going to get USC kind of back in that mix, right, of the elite in that blue blood space once again, because I know we call them that, but the roster hasn't really reflected that. Chris Henry, would give them another win at Mater Dei as well. They've got Tom Tupui, Sean Scott, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, who they flipped from Ohio State earlier. Those two are very close. That's another dynamic that we have to kind of put into effect here, because for the longest time, Chris Henry has been committed to the Buckeyes. Caden Dixon-Wyatt knew that, and despite the fact that you have a 5-star receiver headed to the same school, he still signed up for that, and he still said, hey, I want to play with you at the next level. There's going to be enough footballs for both of us to go around. And so now the shoes have kind of flipped a little bit. Now Caden Dixon-Wyatt is a part of that class, and now Chris Henry's trying to decide, okay, do I want to continue to play with him? So it's really interesting that USC is still kind of involved there. My gut tells me that that Oregon maybe has the upper hand if he were to switch from Ohio State. I just think the Ducks present so much more from an offensive standpoint, from just the ability to be the guy. And so those are kind of some of the big main.
Chad Bowden trying to make a signing day splash is probably the least surprising thing of all. One thing I'll say about Chris Henry, can move on, but I just can't shake this. Multiple Oregon coaches told me from day one, do not rule us out. Do not be surprised if he ends up a Duck. Don't worry about the fact that he's committed elsewhere. There's just almost an arrogance about them when it came to Chris Henry. That was why I was so confident over the last couple of weeks that they are more in play than anybody thought or anybody was talking about. So this is going to be interesting. Obviously, we'll see if Ohio State can get it done today.